Today I wanted to show you guys something that I thought was interesting, can be useful to the right person. We're looking at the ElectronNMB. It's a Nintendo Multiout Breakout adapter. And this, I thought was pretty cool. So this is from Electron Shepherd. This individual sells a lot of cool products. I've never purchased from him before, but they make the Electron AV kit for the Wii, the Electron X out for the OG Xbox to have HDMI, and numerous other like adapters and mods and stuff like that. And I've never really had a need for anything that they've sold, so I never bought anything before. But when I saw them announce the ElectronNMB, I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. It could be useful to me. So I grabbed it, ordered it. It was 42 bucks, arrived in about a week. And I think it's pretty sweet for the right person, the right purpose, right? So what does this thing do? As the name suggests, it is a multi-out breakout. So this is going to work on Nintendo consoles, retro Nintendo consoles that have the Nintendo multi-out. So things like the Super Nintendo Junior, whatever you want to call it, Nintendo 64, Famicom, and even other Nintendo consoles that you may have had modded to have a Nintendo multi-out. So where would this thing be useful? Well, if you are a streamer, a YouTuber, something like that, that's one thing where you could have it plugged into your capture card and capture the footage that way, and then have it plugged into another monitor, say a CRT. A lot of retro gamers do like doing that. Have a CRT set up and play that way because the latency could be better. Certain capture cards and setups and software to record gameplay, latency could be introduced. So something like this could be useful. Another reason I could see it being of use to people is maybe if you have a shop or maybe just a display or something, or maybe you're at a convention or something and you have things set up where you could have somebody playing the game on a smaller display and then have like a bigger display kind of showcasing it for an audience. That could be cool. That could work out great. Like I said, there's a lot of uses and things people could do with this thing. I think if this was out back in the day, it would have been really sweet, especially for people who may have had like multiple displays, as back in like the 90s and stuff like that. Not all of us had huge TVs, but maybe somebody had a smaller TV. You have like a party, get together. Even nowadays could be fine for this, but say you're playing like some Street Fighter 2 or Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo, and each player has their own display. You could do that. So the way this thing works is it plugs into the multi-out on your Nintendo console, and then it gives you access to that port still. Like it's like a pass-through almost. Like you could still use the multi-out and plug that into something else, whatever the system supports. Like each Nintendo console is going to have different support for video options. But with the multi-out, you could have, RGB, composite, S-video, depending on the console, that kind of output and whatnot. And then with the actual breakout adapter here, you have those composite cables, S-video. You have a few different options to have a second display set up. I tested this, like I have a CRT, but I didn't bring it out to use it this way. Just for display purposes, I use this little crappy Dell monitor, which is not really crappy. It's crappy with composite. Doesn't look that great, but with other options, it looks awesome. But I just wanted to plug in my Nintendo 64 and my Super Nintendo Mini, or Super Nintendo Junior. With the Super Nintendo Junior, mine is modded to have RGB activated and stuff like that, so I could use S-video, RGB, all that good stuff. And then my Nintendo 64 has HDMI out, but I wasn't using it that way. I was just using the multi-out, but I still have like RGB activated, stuff like that. So with both of these consoles, I plugged into my little LG TV that's, further back in this video footage through the Rad2X adapter. So it's one of my favorite ways to play my retro consoles, use the Rad2X. But then I had, through composite, plugged into the Dell monitor and, have the audio fed through that and through the LG monitor. Obviously, if you want to mute one, you can. Now, with that, it's obviously going to depend on the displays you're using. I did fiddle around a bit because I was noticing, okay, I'm hearing the audio sooner out of one display versus the other. And it seemed like the LG TV with game mode on was a little more laggy for some reason. The latency, like It was tiny, and I could easily adapt to playing on either screen, but it was noticeable. But just to point that out, just because in my setup that I use for the demonstration here, that there may be a difference in latency, a minor difference maybe. It's just really going to depend on the displays you use. Like every display could introduce latency in a different way, certain amount, that kind of thing. But I still see this being a useful adapter for many people with all these different consoles. It's a really neat thing. Like I said, not everybody's going to have a use for it, but I just wanted to share this with you guys today. It's like $42. I think that's reasonable. But yeah, I'll put a link down below. I bought this myself. I'm not an affiliate or sponsored or anything. Just sometimes I find a product I find interesting. I want to share it with you guys. Some of you guys may have a use for it. Some of you may not. I thought it was cool. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Bye.